What's up, guys? Moving along through the Motu Ultimates from Super 7. We're going to take a look at, who else but Skeletor can be our second figure to look at. There's a few more figures that I really want to get into, but Skeletor has to take precedence just because he's the big bad. So we've got our mailer box, we've got the logo, we've got Ultimate Skeletor, we've got Adult Collector, Super 7 on the bottom. So let's pull this guy out and take a look at his card art. All right, so here is Skeletor. We've got his same style packaging that we saw with He-Man. We've got our Motu logo. We've got that goofy circular hole punch there. We've got the Havoc staff there. We've got that faux backer card mini comic piece back there. We've got some alternate heads. We've got a cape. We've got swords. We've got everything you could really want in this figure here. Spin him around. We've got some new artwork on the back with Skeletor looking menacing, standing by Snake Mountain. We've got the vintage callback to the, how to use the figure and instructions for it. We've got the Ultimates there for a cross-sell, and we've got the Collector's Choice and upcoming Club Grayskull cross-sell. Just seeing those on a package really gets me pumped for what we're going to see down the road, because we're going to be talking about all 8 of those when I finally get a hold of them. So again, beautiful package. I love every bit of this. I think it's great. I'm back to a point where I actually want to keep card backs after I open figures, and that hasn't happened in a long, long time. So we're going to crack this guy out and take a closer look at him. All right, so here is the Lord of Destruction out of the box. And before we look at the figure, just like we did with He-Man, I'm going to move him to the side, and we're going to take a look at the card that he comes with. This is the faux mini comic that I mentioned in the packaging section. So we've got a shot of Kel Door transforming into Skeletor, and what I find interesting about this, and it makes a little more sense now that I realize what he's actually packaged with in terms of what the story that they're going with is now. So this is the updated bio on the back, and it does mention that after Skeletor is killed by Despara, by Adora, that he is brought back to life, and he ends up retransforming himself from Kel Door to Skeletor. So it makes sense that we're seeing this particular image. It makes sense that we're getting a Kel Door Head in the context of the story that they're telling, which I think is pretty cool, because I was curious why we were getting Kel Door to begin with. I know it makes sense in terms of a figure, but I like that we're getting this little bit of story told as well. So let's move this out of the way, and we'll take a look at Skeletor himself. All right, so here is just Skeletor on his own, and this is how he comes packaged in the box. So we've got him with the Alcala-style sword here. We've got him with the Havoc staff. This is one of the reasons why the line was delayed, because they had to go back and fix the molds and the tools for the Havoc staff. So we have that. He's got the vintage toy style head rather, and then he has the cape on. And the idea of a cloaked Skeletor is always very cool. I've had one on my shelf for a long time, utilizing parts from another Kel Door figure. But this guy also offers up a lot of differences between this particular figure, the original figure, sharing parts from other figures, and then of course there's the whole Kel Door aspect of it. So we're going to take a look at all of that. I'm going to pull the accessories out of his hands just for the time being, just to make it easier on myself. And we're going to do articulation first. It's basic Motu. Head's on a ball peg, go up and down and all around. Arms can go out, all around. We do have a bicep swivel. My joints are really tight, obviously. This thing's brand new. We've got a single hinge at the arm and then rotation at the wrist. There is a crunch, very tight. Waist twist. Legs can go pretty much all the way out. The legs can go just about all the way forward. The loincloth isn't quite as rubbery as He-Man, so he can't kick forward that much. Not much back. Swivel at the thigh. We have got a single joint at that knee. There is a boot cut or a shin swivel, and then we have a hinged ankle. And thankfully, these ankles are better on my Skeletor than He-Man's ankles were. So that's a positive thing. Now, as far as the sculpt goes, if you've seen one Skeletor, you've seen pretty much all of them, although this guy does offer up a little different stuff in terms of a standard Skeletor. So what they're trying to do here is go more in terms of a vintage toy figure. So we've got the monster-style arms, and then we have the furry monster-style boots. They're not boot boots, they're clawed feet with the furry-style boot shins, whatever you want to call them. And then, of course, he's on a standard Skeletor buck body. The big draw for this figure is, of course, is always that head. And I think it's sculpted very, very well. The mold has held up over time just fine. You can get in there and see all the nooks and crannies in that skull, the deep set eyes, the nose, the teeth. It looks just as good now as it did when he came out back, what, 9 years ago? And then, of course, we've got the armor. We've got the cape. The armor can be taken off. The cape can be taken off. You just pop his head off and it'll come out. And then the armor is pegged on. And then he's got his loincloth with the furry sides and the leather cod piece. Now, as far as paint goes, most of the paint applied on this figure is going to be on the face, at least in terms of what really jumps out at you. So we've got that bright, vibrant yellow and green, those deep red in the deep set eyes. We've also got paint details on the armor pieces. We've got all the metallic little baubles on there. We've got the painted crest in the center. We've got painted fingernails. Unfortunately, one thing that is painted that in general isn't, but it has been in the past on another figure, is the hands. So the hands are actually painted blue. Underneath that blue paint is purple plastic. So I'm not really sure what the point of that is or why. I mean, this seems like the worst place to do paint because it's going to get chipped off eventually. There are already kind of stress cracks on my my left hand here. It's kind of hard to see on the video, but on where the fingers are crooked in, you can see bits of purple showing through. So I figure that's going to be a problem over time. I believe Dragon Blast Skeletor in the Mattel line, his arms were painted purple. Not purple. They were painted blue with black plastic under it. So there was a bit of an issue there, and it's interesting that it happened because those are the same kind of arms that this figure has. So I'm not really sure. But in general, I don't have any problems with my paint. It looks good. It looks clean. He looks very Skeletor-ish to me. So let's take a look now at a comparison between all the other parts that make this guy up, and we'll look at all the other heads, accessories, and all that good stuff. All right, so here is our Ultimate Skeletor next to the original Skeletor. Now this is the reissue Skeletor. He's not the very first one, but he's the same overall figure with a minor difference. So one thing to point out right off the bat is that the hand on this figure is the same style hand that was used on the original release of Skeletor back when the line started. It's a looser grip. The hand on the reissue is a much tighter grip, pretty much the same as the right hand. You can see the forearms are different. This is the monster style. These are like the finned style. The center of the crest is a different color on the Ultimates than it is on the original. And then, of course, the feet are very different. We have the blue feet on the original, the purple feet on the new one with the different kind of shins and boots. Obviously, this one's wearing a cape, but that's not really a difference in this regard. And then just look at that paint. You can tell that this is much more vibrant. And it could just be due to age, but it's also mostly just the fact that I think it's just a more vibrant look for it. So one's not really better than the other in that regard. It's just there are some differences. This guy also has the pegs exposed on his ankles, whereas these ankles do not, thankfully. And this one is far more stable than this one. Now, to bring another figure in the mix, we've got Dragon Blast Skeletor. So he's got the same style forearms. He's got the same feet. So that's really where a lot of that comes in. He has a different head as well in terms of face paint, but that's not really a comparison point here. It's just to show where these particular parts really come from. All right, now as far as accessories goes, we have got multiple weapons to talk about here, which is to be expected. So we've got, first and foremost, we've got that Havoc staff back on him. So this is, it's basically the same thing that we had with the original Skeletor. I don't really see any differences with it. It's still an amazing accessory. It's quintessential to Skeletor. It just looks awesome. It's got that awesome ram's head on there. You can't ask for much more than that. The main thing that I was really interested in was this Alcala style power sword. I don't think we have a Skeletor version of this. If we do, someone correct me if I'm wrong. I have got so many damn power swords at this point, I just can't remember half the time what is what or where they came from anymore. So we've obviously got the He-Man version. It came with Dare back a couple years ago. So we've got the same sword, but in Skeletor's kind of vintage style, purple, two-tone, metallic, dark purple setup. We've also got a few other swords, so we've got exactly what you might expect. We have got the standard Classics power sword. And then we've got the half sword. And one thing that I wanted to note is that this half sword is remarkably darker in general than the other swords. So it may be hard to pick up, but the metallic blade instead of the actual hilt is a much darker purple than the other swords that we have. And just to compare, we've got the Ultimate's half sword on the left, and we've got the original half sword on the right. It's very difficult to pick it up, but they're definitely not the same color. The actual blade, while still metallic, is very dark in comparison to any other Skeletor sword that I have. Specifically this half sword. I'm not sure why. Not a big deal, but I'm pointing out differences here, and that's one of them. Now, just like with He-Man, we've got a large array of heads. So we've got the standard classics version, the vintage toy style head with Skeletor, but we've also got the Alcala style head. This came with Demo Man in the previous line, and I think it's just as good here as it is in that accessory that we got originally. Excellent sculpt. It's very gruesome, very evil looking. This is one of my favorite Skeletor looks. He's not my Skeletor. My Skeletor is Filmation Skeletor, but I love this head for just what it is. It looks gruesome. It's got those gnarly teeth. It's really cool. I love it. And of course, like I mentioned before, we do have a Kel Door Head in this set. And there are some differences between what makes this figure more Kel Door-like than this one. So we've got the head to start off with, which looks pretty much exactly the same. They're damn near identical. My original one has kind of derpy eyes though, so thankfully this head's a little better. But the skin tone is actually different. So Kel Door in general is a brighter blue, a more saturated blue, I guess is a better way to say it. So the head matches that on this figure. This figure is matched to the Skeletor blue. So this is actually, they're not the same. I mean, I'm sure it comes through pretty well. It may not come through 100%, but they are different colors. So keep that in mind. And then the other thing is that the capes are not the same color. Kel Door's is a more maroony purple. Is that a good way to say it? Whereas the cape that comes with Ultimate Skeletor is a more purple. So maroon purple, purple. There are definitely different colors here as well. And just for the sake of comparison, I'm obviously not Pixel Dan, so I'm not going to say it, but let's take a look at some other Skeletor figures alongside the Ultimate Skeletor. So we've got our Ultimate. This is probably how I'm going to be displaying him. Alcala head, Alcala sword, and Havoc staff. But we've got him next to the Classics one. We've got Kel Door in the background. We've got Terror Claws. We've got Dragon Blast. We've got Battle Armor. So a good mix. It's not all of them, but it's some that I had readily available to take a look at. I think this is a great addition to the line. There's a lot of weird little differences between this figure and other Skeletors, which is perfectly fine by me. It doesn't matter to me at all. It makes him unique, makes him stand out on the shelf. He comes in a great package. He comes with a slew of accessories, and Super 7 has knocked it out of the park yet again. So we're 2 for 2 as far as I'm concerned so far, having looked at He-Man and now looking at Skeletor. I think they're doing a great job with this line. Really looking forward to digging into the remaining figures. So that is going to do it for this look at the Super 7 Motu Classics Ultimate Skeletor from Super 7. Let me know, guys, what do you think about these figures? What do you think about this line so far? Did you get them? Are you trying to get them? Let me know down in the comments below. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, and until next time.